On today's episode, I'll discuss whether Ivan Demidov should be the pick for the Blackhawks at number 2, and I'll also get into Nick Foligno's report card.
You're Locked On Blackhawks, your daily podcast on the Chicago Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, I'm your host, Jack Bushman. You can go and give me a quick follow on X at Jack Bushman2. Make sure to also go and check out my Strictly Blackhawks account at Talkin' Hockey. That way, you can get all of the latest Blackhawks news and updates. And just a quick reminder to everyone watching this on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you very much. If you're tuning in through an audio platform, make sure you're constantly downloading all of those latest episodes. You can rate and review the show as well, which would put a big smile on my face. And last but certainly not least, gotta let you know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Sign up today and visit fanduel.com/lockedon to get $150 worth of bonus bets guaranteed. All right, good morning, everyone. Again, thank you all for joining me on another episode of Locked On Blackhawks, your one-stop shop for all things Chicago Blackhawks. For segment one here to open the show this morning, with the Hawks now officially having the second overall pick in the 2024 NHL Draft in their possession, it's time to get into the real fun stuff here, Blackhawks fans. It's time to start getting into specific 2024 NHL Draft player profiles. And of course, over the last few months, I've been gathering tons of information now on a lot of the guys projected to go in the top 10, along with most of the players who are expected to go in the first round. And now going to be dedicating an entire segment to them on the show, going through their entire makeup, their skill sets, and dictating kind of what player I believe they'll be at the NHL level, what the drafts and scouts and analysis kind of say about all of those players. So I'm excited. It's one of my most favorite times of the year. I love diving into specific player profiles and kind of seeing what everyone has to offer and just getting a better understanding of all of these prospects leading up to this year's NHL draft. But starting things off, the first player profile I'm going to be going over here on the show is none other than the man who's mostly considered to be the number 2 talent in this year's draft behind Macklin Celebrini, and that's Mr. Ivan Demidov. 5'11", 170-pound winger who turned 18 back in December, had an unbelievable season in the MHL, which is kind of Russia's equivalent to junior hockey. He had 60 points in 30 MHL games, 23 goals and 37 assists, nearly a goal per game margin. He was second in the league in scoring and probably would have led the league, would have been the first rookie to ever score 40 goals in that league had he not suffered an upper body injury in January. But in terms of his productivity, looking at some of the other most notable Russian prospects over the last decade or so, Ivan Demidov has a better point per game margin in the MHL than all of them. Nikita Kucherov, Kirill Kaprizov, Pavel Buchnevich, Matvei Michkov, even last season. Yeah, Ivan Demidov has put up more points in the MHL than all of those guys. He also did get 4 games in the KHL earlier on in this season, but didn't really get much of a role there, didn't get much of an opportunity, and was kind of quickly sent back down to the MHL, but could potentially be in the KHL next season. It's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening to Ivan Demidov, because as of right now, he has not signed a contract extension over in the KHL, and his current deal is set to expire at the end of next year after the 2024-2025 campaign. And, with Russian prospects, there's always that kind of concern about, well, will they ever come over? And if they do, when is it going to be? Is it going to be 3, 4, 5 years down the road? At least from these early signs, it seems like Ivan Demidov does want to be coming over to North America. It's not 100% set in stone that he's going to be coming over after next season, but it does feel like that's definitely in the cards. But if he does end up going that route, you could potentially see KHL St. Petersburg not be very happy with that decision, that he's not going to be staying over for Russia and leaving so soon, and they might not give him the most meaningful opportunity or minutes at the KHL level next season. So that unfortunately can be a side effect of that. It's going to be curious to see what Demidov where he winds up playing next season, but wherever he plays, it's going to be fun to watch him because this kid is oh so skilled. I'll get into some of his attributes here in a second, but first wanted to dive into the rankings by most of the draft analysts and scouts that I personally like to keep an eye on. Elite Prospects had Demidov ranked second. Bob McKenzie had him ranked sixth, interestingly enough. That's the lowest out of any of these rankings. Craig Button had him at second. Tony Ferrari had him at second. McKean's Hockey had Demidov third. Chris Peters had him fifth. Daily Faceoff had him second, and Dobber Prospects had him second as well. But when getting a look at Ivan Demidov and watching some of his highlights and watching his film, I spent probably 2 hours yesterday just watching all sorts of clips of him on YouTube. And man, this kid is uber talented. And there are a couple of things that really stand out about his game. First thing is the quickness. I wouldn't say Demidov has like blazing straight line speed. Like he's not going to blow past a lot of guys, especially at the NHL level. But the way he skates is really interesting and it's unique, but it works for him. He has a 10-2 style in some situations, which you might have heard that thrown around on the internet recently. It's a little bit different and not something you see very often in the NHL. There might be some concerns there, but quite honestly, the different style that Ivan Demidov has about him is kind of what makes him so unique and so intriguing. Like he just kind of does things a little bit differently. But what is apparent, maybe the technique isn't perfect for Demidov, but he is a really good skater, particularly with his edges. His edge work is unbelievable, and he really knows how to change direction in a hurry because of his work with his edges. And he really utilizes that to, again, not really blow past defenders in transition, but kind of cut around them and take advantage of open ice to create some separation, give himself an extra second to make a play and keep the puck on his stick. That's what really stands out to me. And then he also pairs that with some unbelievable puck handling and one-on-one spots. It's really hard for defenders to stop this guy because of his edge work and his hands. He's got unbelievable hands, and he loves to go and dance around a defender. The question is, watching his highlights, he's dancing all around everybody in the MHL. It's obviously not the highest level of competition in hockey. The question is going to be, can that translate over to the next level? That's to be seen, but boy, just the creativity that he plays with is so noticeable. And he's not afraid to try things out there. He does things, like I said, just a little bit differently and kind of takes routes that I think might not pop up in most players' brains. I also think he thinks the game really well, and he kind of has that one step ahead of you mindset. He reads plays really well out there. He knows where the open ice is going to be, and he uses that in all facets of the game. Like his passing is really exceptional, and I think it's because he's able to see the game really well. He recognizes what's going down out there. He knows where the open ice is going to be, and he uses that in his playmaking abilities to get the puck off of his stick, and he also uses that to kind of go and be aggressive and take advantage of the open ice and go and make a defender miss to make something happen. He has a lot of special nuances about him, the skating, the stick handling, the edge work, but putting it all together, it makes a very, very special player. I also think he's got some good smarts. Like he just reads defenses really well. He knows where his teammates are going to be or where they should go, like I said, to kind of capitalize on that open ice. And I think he makes really heads up plays in transition and also in tight knit areas. Like when you go and watch some of his highlights, you're kind of like, how did he see that? How did he make that pass? But he's able to thread the needle again because he's also not afraid to fail out there. And I think that's something that could potentially work well with Connor Bedard. I almost feel like Ivan Demidov tries to make it tough on himself on purpose. Like he makes things difficult purposely, not because he's cocky or he's arrogant or he feels like he can force it through there or he does it because he believes he can pull it off because he's so talented. Like he truly believes it can work. And, that's gotten him in trouble at some point and can at some points and can lead to him making some turnovers. But boy, the creativity is there. And he's just not afraid to go out there and kind of be himself, be a little bit different, be unique. And I think that's what makes him so intriguing. He also has a pretty good shot. I would say what's kind of interesting is I've read he could be more of a goal scorer than a playmaker. I don't really see that. I think his playmaking abilities are unbelievable. His shot's pretty good. It's not like powerful. He's not going to blow it by you, but he's got a good curl and drag wrister. I would say his accuracy stands out more than his power. A lot of curl and drag wristers from the left side going glove high. He knows how to pinpoint his wrist shot. I think he just has a good all around game. And in terms of his like competitiveness, I think it's decent. I think there are some strides to be made there, but he does go to the front of the net. He does go to the dirty areas. It's mostly because he's kind of chasing down a loose puck after trying out one of his dekes, but he will go to those areas. Did it mostly in the offensive zone in this past season, so would kind of like to see him grow and use that in all three zones. But offensively, this kid has all the tools to be a very special player, a true top six player at the NHL level. In terms of his weaknesses, I think it's just continuing to get stronger. He's a little bit undersized at only 170, 175 pounds. Just typical things you're going to say about an 18, 19-year-old. Needs to get stronger on his skates, stronger on his stick, just a little bit more physically mature, and then just continue to kind of round out his defensive abilities. Everything is kind of about what he does with the puck for the most part. So if he can kind of add in some things, become a little bit more reliable on the defensive side of things. Not that he's a liability, but again, these are just kind of some typical things that you'd say about an 18, 19-year-old kid. All in all, though, as far as my projection, like I said, I think Ivan Demidov has the goods to be a top six winger, probably a top line winger in this league with unbelievable playmaking abilities, man. This kid has eyes in the back of his head. He's not scared of failing. He's super creative. I actually read something today that apparently he'd like to play center if possible, and I could see why. Because like I said, I think he is going to be a real dynamite playmaker. The way he thinks the game is exceptional. He's got pretty good speed, knows how to use his edges very well. I could see why he would translate at center, but I do see him potentially fitting in well in terms of why would the Blackhawks take him? What is the long-term fit with the Blackhawks? Man, pairing this guy up with Connor Bedard, it would be must-see TV. I mean, the way Ivan Demidov plays, if you haven't watched his highlights yet, Blackhawks fans, go and type his name in on YouTube. Boy, oh boy, this kid is a lot of fun to watch. He kind of reminds you of Connor Bedard. He's got that dazzling ability out there. He does things differently. He's just so unique. And man, so watching those two play together, Bedard is a right-hand shot, Demidov is a left-hand shot, like, man, it could be a combo to look out for a long, long time. And I also think Demidov has this confidence like Connor Bedard does. They really believe in themselves, even when they're trying things that were like, who else is going to do that? Like Demidov and Bedard, they're a little bit similar. Connor Bedard is obviously the much higher ceiling prospect, but Ivan Demidov, he has the makings to be an all-star in this league, man. From what he showed at 18 years of age, yes, I know it was the MHL, so there's going to be some debate there against him playing against potatoes and whatnot, but man, he's really special. Wish we could see him on the international scene, but Russia, because it would be really fun to see what he would have to offer against some of the other best prospects in the world. But there is my first of many 2024 NHL draft profiles that I'll be doing on the show here this summer. Go and comment down below. Let me know what you think about Ivan Demidov. Do you think he should be the pick at number 2? If so, let me know why. Coming up in just a moment, Blackhawks fans, don't go anywhere, because coming up next, I'm about to get into Nick Foligno's 2023-2024 report card. But first, I need to talk to you all about Indeed. When you're drafting your fantasy team, do you ever wish that you could handpick the best stars for your roster? Well, if you're building your talent roster, then you need Indeed, because Indeed is the only job site where you're guaranteed to find quality applications that meet your must-have requirements, or else you don't pay. So instead of spending countless hours on multiple job sites hoping to find candidates with the right skills, you need to use the one powerful hiring partner that can help you do it all, and that is Indeed. Indeed streamlines the hiring process with powerful tools that find you match candidates in an instant. And again, I personally love Indeed because it's the only job site out there where you only pay for applications that meet those must-have requirements and standards. And Indeed knows that when you're growing your business, you got to make every dollar count. And according to ComScore, Indeed is the #1 job site worldwide, and Indeed delivers 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined, according to Talent Nest. So start hiring right now at Indeed.com/locked-on. Again, that's Indeed.com/locked-on for quality applications that meet your hiring criteria. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? Then you need Indeed. Segment 2, it's time to get into my next Chicago Blackhawks report card here of the 2024 offseason. I've already gone through Connor Bedard, Seth Jones, Philip Kurashev, and Kevin Korchinski, and dished out a grade for their performances this season. Make sure to go and check out those episodes if you haven't done so already. You can easily find them on the Locked On Blackhawks YouTube channel. Just go and check out that 2023-2024 report card playlist. Up next today, we have none other than 36-year-old forward Nick Foligno, the de facto captain of the Hawks this past season, if you will. Of course, came over from the Boston Bruins along with Taylor Hall in that trade that the Blackhawks made, sending only Alec Regula and Ian Mitchell to Boston. Just a pure cap dump for the Bruins there. And Foligno sure did make his impact felt all over the Blackhawks organization this year. Off of the ice, he became the veteran leader of the group, almost like a second father, if you will, to Connor Bedard, kind of taking him under his wing. Watching those two just establish their chemistry this season was so awesome and always put a smile on my face. And he also kind of became Bedard's protector out there on the ice as well, and kind of set the tone, letting everybody know, hey, if you're going to go and mess with this kid, you're going to have to deal with me. And from day one, I thought Foligno took his job seriously. He took on the responsibility, even though he had never been part of this organization before. He kind of fit in marvelously and felt like he was one of them right from the get-go. Like, it didn't feel like Nick Foligno just kind of came in here this summer, the way that he kind of commanded respect. Everyone looked up to him. The way that, like I said, he just kind of took this job so seriously right from the get-go. I think he kind of understood that, yeah, this isn't going to be probably not a very good team this year, but there's a lot here. There's a lot of significance to what's going on right here, right now with some of these young kids, like a Bedard, like a Korchinski. And to see him just kind of act as that role model, that veteran leader for them, again, on and off the ice, was absolutely splendid out of Nick Foligno. And just very cool to see him also really burst through for one of his best seasons in a long time on the ice as well. Very well deserving of that. Really awesome to see Nick Foligno get rewarded for everything he's done for the Blackhawks organization in his short time here. Getting into the numbers for Foligno this season, lots of good stuff here, Blackhawks fans. 74 games played for Foligno. It's the most he's had in a season since 2016-2017. And let me remind you, this is a man who's 36 years of age. Not to do that to my boy Nick, but he's on the back nine, probably on holes 15 or 16 of his career, if we're being honest here. But he had one of his best seasons of his entire 15-year NHL career at this point, I believe it is. 17 goals and 20 assists for 37 points in those 74 games. 17 goals for him is the most he's tallied since 2018-19. He was also fourth on the Blackhawks in that category. His 20 assists were the most he's had in the season since 2016-2017, and those 37 points were also the most he's had since 2016-2017. Tied for the fourth most of his entire career and was third on the Blackhawks in points this season. Awesome stuff out of Nick Foligno. 57 penalty minutes. Most of them were coming to the defense of his teammates. Wasn't ever really taking bad penalties. Was a -29. Not really going to go into that much more. Basically, every Blackhawks player, except for a few, had a bad plus-minus this season. And he chipped in all departments, too. That's what I loved about Nick Foligno. He kind of did a little bit of everything for this team. Scored 8 power play goals, which tied Tyler Johnson for the team lead. He also scored his first shorthanded goal of his entire career, one of 3 that the Blackhawks had this year. Shot 11.6%, 11.2 for his career, so a little bit better than normal, but getting more of an opportunity, getting more shots on net, which were led to the numbers taking a little bit of an uptick. 17 minutes and 46 seconds for Foligno this season. That was third among Blackhawks forwards, behind only Connor Bedard and Philip Kurashev. And I think rightfully so. Nick Foligno, Jason Dickinson, those are the guys I would expect to be third among Blackhawks forwards in time on ice this season, because they deserved it. They were one of the most effective role players, some of the only effective role players that this Blackhawks team had. Here's a stat that out of any of these, might put a smile on my face and might impress me the most about Nick Foligno. He won 52.4% of his faceoffs, and it's not like he took 100 or 200. No, he took over 350 faceoffs this year, and it's the second most that he's taken of his entire career. The only time he's taken more than he did this year was in 2017, 2018. And oh yeah, he was better than Reese Johnson, better than Jason Dickinson, better than all the true center icemen on the Blackhawks. Won 52.4% of his draws. And going into this year, I don't, maybe he was doing a little bit extra work in training camp, but I don't think even Nick Foligno expected to be taking the amount of draws that he did. And it's because Connor Bedard just never could really find his footing there. And then when playing with Bedard, that was kind of Luke Richardson's solution. Hey, we're going to go and throw Nick in the faceoff dot. And it's not like he was like 45% or something, which would still be better than Bedard's 38 or whatever it was. No, Nick Foligno won 52.5% of his faceoffs. Gosh darn impressive from someone that's mostly played on the wing his entire career. Like I said, the guy just chipped in for a little bit of everything, and that kind of stuff just tells you what kind of player, what kind of selflessness Nick Foligno plays with, man. He'll do any role. He'll do anything for you out there. He played on the penalty kill, played on the power play, played on the top line for the Blackhawks. He's just an unbelievable guy. Added in 192 hits, the fifth most of his career, along with 39 block shots. And then getting into the analytics, 47.9 Corsi for percentage, I imagine one of the better ones among Blackhawks forwards, and was on the ice for 68 goals for to 86 against at 5-on-5 with an 87.2 on-ice save percentage. As someone who's typically a reliable defensive forward, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. I'm going to assume that his defense was not a result of that number being so low. As far as the good and the bad for Foligno, certainly a lot more good than there is bad. Like I said, just did kind of everything for this Blackhawks team this year. He chipped in offensively, played a top line role a lot, which is pretty tough for him to do at this stage of his career at his age. And he was really the most effective player on that top line with Bedard and Kurashev when he got an opportunity. He was also a great power play provider, right? Good net front presence, tied Tyler Johnson for the team lead in power play goals this year. And then also just a great leader, a great mentor for some of these young guys in all areas, and really took on that job with a smile on his face. He puts a smile on our face. He did his job with a smile on his face, protecting Connor Bedard, taking him under his wing, helping Kevin Korchinski and some of the young guys as they take this next step in their journey. And he took that very seriously, you could tell. And also really cool to see him get that contract extension, which I think everyone is going to be happy about, and kind of gives him a little bit more of an investment here in the Blackhawks organization. It's not just one and done for Nick Foligno. Now he's actually a part of this turnaround here in Chicago, and I think that's only going to get more out of him moving forward. And yeah, just did a little bit of everything, all areas, whatever Luke Richardson needed. Nick Foligno was there this season. So lots of good out of Nick Foligno. As far as the bad, there's really not much to say, man. Maybe that he was a little bit too old for his role. Maybe that his wheels can't keep up with Bedard and Philip Kurashev, but it's not, most of my complaints, if you will, would have to be just Nick Foligno having to play a much larger role than he's kind of capable of. On a playoff contender, he's a third or fourth liner, and for the Blackhawks, he's playing with Connor Bedard and Philip Kurashev on the top trio. So just really impressed with Nick Foligno. The offensive output that he had, he was good right from the get-go. And there's an invaluable factor of what he's doing here in the organization. And he probably won't be here to see the fruits of his labor, but it's going to be so meaningful for all of these kids. And I feel like Nick Foligno is going to be one of those guys in 10, 15 years when we hear Connor Bedard in an interview somewhere. He's going to talk about a vet like Nick Foligno who kind of showed him the ropes and showed him how to be a pro. And yeah, might not have the most meaningful impact on the Blackhawks rebuild in a lot of fans' eyes, but he's going to be someone a lot of us fans think back about and are going to be grateful for his time here with the organization. Super excited that Nick Foligno's here for another couple years. As far as the grade, I'm going to give him an A. I don't know how you wouldn't be able to give him an A. I actually forgot to have this typed out, but I do want to see what everybody voted for on X. And if you haven't done so already, make sure to go and follow @TalkinHockey on X so you can vote on all of these polls when I post them. 52% of the voters gave Foligno a B, 41% gave him an A, 8% gave him a C, but no one voted D or F. If you give Nick Foligno a D or an F, you kind of stink. I'm honestly surprised more people didn't give him an A. Why doesn't Nick Foligno deserve an A? If you don't think so, go and tell me in the comment section down below. That one surprises me a little bit. I thought for sure he would get more A's than B's. Go and comment down below. What grade would you give veteran leader Nick Foligno for his performance in his first season with the Blackhawks this past year? All right, there is Nick Foligno's 2023-2024 report card coming up in just a moment, Hawks fans. I do still have to get into some recent updates ahead of the 2024 IIHF World Championships, which begin tomorrow. But first, I got to talk to you all about the fine folks over at FanDuel. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's also in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to go to bet on every single game. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's right. You get $150 worth of bonus bets, win or lose. And you can use these bonuses to bet on everything from slap shots throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs to home runs across all the major league ballparks and even slam dunks on the way to the NBA championship, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Go and visit FanDuel.com/lockdown right now and make your first bet an automatic win. Again, that's FanDuel.com/lockdown. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Back here on the Locked On Blackhawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Again, if you're still watching this on YouTube right now, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you very much. Also, make sure to go and check out the new Locked On Sports Today, because Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every single league. So make sure to go and check out Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Segment 3, before I finish up the show today, let you all go and enjoy the rest of your days. I did also want to be sure to get into some updates ahead of the 2024 IIHF World Championship, which is starting tomorrow afternoon. First, we got to see Team USA's Lions for the first time as they had a little bit of a prelim matchup with Slovakia earlier on in the week. First thing that stands out, boy, oh boy, are the United States gunning for gold this year, baby. They have a very talented roster. I don't think I've ever seen a better one out of them at the World Championship, and they, of course, have never won gold at the World Championship in their history. On the top line, starting off with their forward group, Johnny Gaudreau, Shane Pinto, Matt Boldy, real solid top line. Brady Tkachuk, Trevor Zegras, Cole Caulfield as the second line. How about this third line for Team USA? Joel Farabee of the Flyers, along with Will Smith and Ryan Leonard, two prospects that have been playing together for the last couple of years. Smith, obviously a San Jose prospect now. Ryan Leonard in the Capital system, played together as freshmen for BC this past season. Looks like they're going to be playing together here in a good experience together as at the World Championship. And then Michael Eyssimont, Kevin Hayes, and Luke Kunin to round things out with the forward group. On defense, this is where us Blackhawks fans were intrigued. It's Zach Werenski and Seth Jones as the top pairing for Team USA, with Seth rocking the A for the red, white, and blue. We've seen him wear the C in the past for Team USA at the World Championship. The last time he played, which was 2022, I believe, rocking the A as of right now and not paired up with his D partner for a majority of this season, Alex Vlasic. And I talked about this when Seth and Alex got announced as part of Team USA's roster. I wondered, would they pair up Alex and Seth once again, or would they give Seth his longtime D partner from Columbus in Zach Werenski? I certainly understand them doing that. They're the two most talented defensemen on this team. Going to be the minute eaters for the red, white, and blue. Jake Sanderson, Jeff Petrie, the second pairing. Alex Vlasic skating with Michael Kesselring on the third defensive pairing. And then Luke Hughes and Matthew Kessel are the extras. And then Alex Lyon and Trey Augustine in net. Might be the weakness for the United States is their goaltending. Augustine still a prospect. Alex Lyon, kind of a 1B type of goaltender in the NHL for the Detroit Red Wings as well. The defense is going to have to be really good in front of those two for the United States to have a gold medal bid this year. Canada in the last couple of days have beefed up their roster as well. I think that's partly natural with the Stanley Cup playoffs finishing up, and usually we do see guys jump who get eliminated from the Stanley Cup playoffs to the World Championship. But I also think it's because the United States has such a deep roster this year. Canada this week added Pierre-Luc Dubois, Brandon Hagel, and Nick Paul to their roster. But Macklin Celebrini and Adam Fantilli have left the team, and that's unfortunate. I really wanted to see Macklin Celebrini in this tournament after seeing what he did what he did for them at the World Juniors as a 17-year-old. Would have liked to see him against a step up in competition, but because these three are getting added, both of those two have left. But looking at Canada's roster and their lines and D pairings, I think it's pretty clear they needed a little bit of help because this team is just so young without them. Michael Bunting, Jared McCann, and Connor Bedard, our baby boy, on the top line for Canada. Andrew Mangiapane, Dylan Cousins, and Dylan Gunther as the second line. Brandon Tanev, Jack McBain, Dawson Mercer as the third line, and then Ridley Gregg and Clark as the two fourth liners. They're obviously having some help on the way. On defense, they have Owen Power and Colton Parayko, Bowen Byram and Jamie Alexiak, and then Caden Gooley with Damon Severson, with Owen Zellweger as their extra D-man. Jordan Binnington and Nico Dawes are their two in net. I'm just going to say it. I think the United States has the better roster this year at the World Championship. Canada, though, obviously has the past success. In the last decade, Canada has won the World Championship 4 times in 2015, 2016, 2021, and 2023. Finland won in 2019 and 2022, while Sweden won in 2017 and 2018. Those are the teams that have won it that are in the tournament this year in the last decade. Russia won in 2014, but of course they're not involved. But as far as the seeding, Canada is 1, Finland is 2, United States are 4, Germany's 5, Sweden's 6, Switzerland 7, Czechia 8, Slovakia 9, and Latvia 10. Those are based on the performances we saw last year. I would say the big four, one of the big four is going to come away with the gold medal. The United States, Canada, Sweden, or Finland. Those are just the teams with the most talent. But my prediction right here is the United States are going to make it to the gold medal game this year. I don't know if they're going to come away with the gold medal, but this is the most talented roster they've ever put together. Excited to see how Seth Jones and Alex Vlasic are going to do on their back end, and also excited to see how Connor Bedard is going to fare for Toronto as they look to be going for back-to-back gold medals here. Don't have an update on Lucas Reichel yet, by the way. Not sure if he's going to be playing for Team Germany, but we do know Philip Kurashev playing for Team Switzerland, Peter Mrazek playing for the host country, Team Czechia. 2024 IIHF World Championship set to get underway tomorrow. All right, that is going to wrap up today's episode of Locked On Blackhawks. As always, thank you all again for joining me on the show. Make sure to go and subscribe to Locked On Blackhawks if you haven't done so already, and follow Locked On Blackhawks for free wherever you may be listening to your podcast. That way, you can get the latest episode as soon as they're available each and every day. As always, I'm your host, Jack Bushman. Give me a follow on X at JackBushman2. Also, go and check out my Strictly Blackhawks account at Talkin' Hockey. That way, you can get all of the latest Blackhawks news and updates. So until tomorrow's episode, everyone, enjoy the rest of your days. Hit that comment section. Let me know what you think about Ivan Demidov, possibly at number 2. Also, drop what grade you believe Nick Foligno should get for his performance this season. I'll be talking about all of that soon. I'll see you all real soon on the next episode of Locked On Blackhawks. Tomorrow afternoon, everyone, enjoy the rest of your days. I'll see you next time.